What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the video. In this one, we've got some pretty big stuff to talk about Mullen. Why'd the stock fall yesterday, some pretty big short interest numbers, and also a pretty big catalyst coming up this month, like barely even 2 weeks away. So before we get into that, all I ask is that if you do enjoy this type of content, if you haven't already, that you subscribe to the channel and you turn on post notifications so you don't miss out on any of my future content. But let's go ahead and get straight into it. So right now, Mullen is trading for just above 37 cents, right below that 38-cent mark. Yesterday, on Friday, the stock did fall 9.5%, going all the way up to 47, and right now at 38. And then seeing it over the past 5 days being up 47%, there's a lot of speculation that the short squeeze has already occurred. Truthfully, I don't believe it has. Personally, I do believe that possibly some short sellers have closed their position, as we're just seeing that in the numbers, but I don't think that all the short squeeze is done by any means. Right now we're trading at a market cap of $624 million. In volume, I just wanted to point this out. Volume has been very, very high recently. Just compared to the average, looking on FinViz, the volume average is about 209.5 million shares. Yesterday, it was 581 million, okay? That's a very, very large amount of volume. You can just see right here, 590.995 million on TradingView. The day before was 541.43 million. Very big numbers. Now let's go ahead and look at Mullen short interest. Right now, the short shares available is about 2.3 million. We're seeing this number fluctuate all the time. A day ago, it was 0, and then now it's up to 2.3 million. I don't think this is a massive concern just in terms of a short squeeze. People short, people cover, and it just kind of continues to cycle. And the cost to borrow fee rate is right now 76.52%. But a key thing to point out is the common range of borrow fee rates is about 0.3% to 3% per year. And whenever there's high demand, it's not uncommon to see borrow fee rates exceeding 20%. 72% is like 3.5 times that, or 76% is more than 3.5%, 3.5 times that. So this is still a very big number, just because it went to 742%. I do think that borrow fee rate did cause some people to cover their positions, because 742% is definitely something that's not that sustainable by any means. But with 76.52%, I'm not saying I have a crystal ball or anything. It could continue to drop, and I think if it does, what will happen is people will continue to short the stock, and then it will continue to climb, and it might be a cycle, or it might just continue to raise, and we could see a massive squeeze coming. But to show you a little bit more on what is happening with Mullen, people are saying, is the short squeeze already over? And honestly, you can't really predict anything if it's over. I bet the only way you could is like if all short interest was gone, which is just not the case for Mullen. Based on today's price and relative strength, it appears the squeeze is currently in process. It could be like a pause in the squeeze or something. I think once the squeeze starts, it most likely will not end until it's ended. So I think this is just a little fluctuation, some people covering, and we're seeing a big increase in price. But meanwhile, Mullen has catapulated itself into a meme stock status during the past year, which implies positive retail sentiment. A short squeeze in retail buying spells higher prices for Mullen, which is kind of makes sense. Retail buying, pulling up pressure, and short interest, they have to buy if things don't go in their plan, which it seems like happened over the past week. Showing you a little bit more, looking into Mullen's recent short interest, the company recently reported has 161 million shares sold short, which is about 11.69% of all the shares outstanding, or of the float. And based on its trading volume, it would take traders about 0.9 days to cover the short positions on average. So we'll see, that 161 million shares, just because Mullen has such high volume, that is why the short ratio is not necessarily the highest out there, but I don't think that's a massive concern. And one thing I wanted to show you is a lot of people are talking about, oh my gosh, the short interest is decreasing, this, that. If you look at the overall short interest graph over the past 3 months, it's still incredibly high, okay? From October to 50 million to November to pretty high, and then drop, and now it's past 150 million, and still a very high number on January 1st. We're still looking at very good numbers just based on short interest in it being high. And to show you a little bit more, here is a very big catalyst coming up for Mullen. So it says, Dear Mullen stock fans, mark your calendars for January 24th. An upcoming securities purchase agreement for preferred shares on January 24th also appears to be on investors' radar today. So while the company's, I kind of want to point this out, has come down to only 80%, interest remains high in the stock, which is now down more than 90%. And that's still after yesterday's rise. The stock is still heavily shorted, but there's a $90 million potential catalyst on the horizon for Mullen. As so it happens, this catalyst is set to take place in less than 3 weeks. So to show you a little bit, its upcoming $90 million payout of preferred stock over the first quarter has many investors excited. So to kind of explain this, it's a securities purchase agreement. So let me kind of explain what that is. A securities purchase agreement is an agreement for the purchase and sale of preferred stock securities to be used in connection with a private equity transaction, such as a growth equity investment in a private corporation. These agreements can also be adapted for the purchase and sale of other equity and debt securities, such as common stock, warrants, or debentures. So a combination of securities. Pretty much what's going to happen is this. A second amendment of this agreement stipulated that $90 million will be paid out to Mullen investors in the form of Series D preferred shares on January 24th and February 24th. According to this amendment, investors will be able to purchase these preferred shares at a price no higher than $1.27 with a floor of 10 cents. So anywhere in this range, accordingly, demand for Mullen stock may increase in the coming weeks depending on the number of investors looking to take part. So if people do want these preferred shares, in this floor range, right now with it being at 38 cents and a floor of 10 cents, it seems like a pretty good deal, with it going to possibly $1.27. Who knows? We could see some pretty nasty things in the market just as price being pushed down, things like that, selling pressure from institutions, whatever it is. And I'm just throwing out ideas. I'm not saying what is going to happen. I'm just throwing out all the possibilities so that you kind of have that awareness. But I'm just throwing that out. But that is going to wrap it up for this video. If you did enjoy it, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on post notifications so you do not miss out on any of my future content. Thank you for making it all the way to end this one. Get some free stocks on Webull, Robinhood, free money on M1 Finance. Links are in the description down below. And I will see you in the next video.